Where are y'all at in your life?
Now that's T-Boo.
When people who aren't in the room that really know you, it's just like, man, just say the word. Like, and I'm just like, it's making me cringe.
So how do you decide, like, okay, you know what? I'll be seen with you. Or, you know what? I don't want to be seen with you no more.
Because you know when it's not you, you just be like, damn. But when it's you, you be like,
I remember the first time I got dragged on Twitter, you know what I'm saying? Or when I got dragged on Instagram, you know what I mean? Like, you just be like, why is y'all dragging me like this?
I'll tell you offline.
Ooh, she don't want you in her business, y'all. Hey, Mom.
Hello, how are you?
I'm thrilled, and I'm very excited to talk to you about this conversation we're having today, which is how to build a brand and honestly the impact that a brand has in really giving you longevity in your career in whatever field, right? Especially now, the social media era, you can be a doctor or a psychologist, therapist. You can be so many different positions that people necessarily wouldn't have imagined needed branding, and actually see how it can leverage what your mission is, and overall just word of mouth on what it is you do. So I want to start with my career because you are the reason why and how I built the Keke Palmer brand. You've been my best and most amazing collaborator to date. But building a brand is kind of like having people with ease identify who it is you are and what it is you're bringing to the table. So for me, I'm your daughter. When we came into this industry, I was just trying to sing. I was just trying to act. But you had, or maybe you didn't, bigger plans in mind in terms of building my brand?
You know what? That's funny. I did not. I just wanted you to go to college. I had a girlfriend that was a school teacher, and she was telling me how her son had done all these commercials, and her daughter had done all these commercials, and she was going to college. She was like,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
daughter's going to college. So anyway, but it's funny that you talk about brand, because do you remember when we made the decision for you to be Keke Palmer? Like Keke was just
Yes.
yeah, Keke was a nickname that, I mean, it was what your family called you. But when you went to
Mhm.
school, you were Lauren. And when you did your very first movie, Barbershop 2, if you look in the credits, it says Lauren Keke Palmer. And so when we went out, because you did Barbershop 2 in Chicago,
Yeah, yeah.
and then when we went out to California, you were in Mr. Berman's office. Remember that guy, your first
Yeah,
manager?
Richard Berman.
Yeah, and you were messing with something on the table. You were just being a precocious kid. And I kept saying, stop, leave that alone. And I was talking to him and I said, Keke, stop, leave that alone. And he said, who is Keke? I said, oh, that's Lauren. He said, no, Keke. That's what she is. That's what she looks like. I was like, good, because that's what we call her anyway.
That is so freaking funny. I do feel like when Keke became my name in the industry, that I did start bringing some of that natural vibe that you just have at home with friends and family, even
Yeah.
more into my career, because it was like, when your names really do trigger different vibes in you. Like Lauren, I
Yeah.
immediately feel like time to get professional, time to get serious. But with Keke, I'm like, time to have fun, time to wild out. And so when we started doing the Keke Palmer as my name as entertainer, I was like, well,
Right.
it kind of opened me up to be that silly, goofy, crazy person that I was at home with my family.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have a Keke energy.
When did you understand the concept of a brand? Because I remember we came into California, 2004, 2005. And I
Mhm.
think this is pretty much, I mean, the internet was around, but it was really starting to kind of be a tool. And I
Mhm.
remember when you decided to make KekePalmer.com. I'm not sure if that was when you started to understand the concept of a
Yeah.
brand or imprinting your identity outside of your roles. So I'm curious, at what point for you did you say, I got to build her a brand?
Okay, so I've been really blessed in my life. I've been tremendously blessed in my life that I ran across people who would tell me things. And I would like to, my mother would always say, don't pat your own self on the back. Let somebody
Sure.
else do that. But I will, in this case, pat myself on the back
Period.
because I actually listened to people. When I didn't know something, I was humble. I didn't act like, oh, I know it. You don't got to tell me. When they would tell me things and I didn't understand, I would go read or research. And so when you did a movie called The Wool Cap with William H. Macy, I had a gentleman on set. His name was Alan Duke. And Alan
Hey,
came up to
Ellen.
me. Yes, Alan's awesome. And he came up to me and he said, your daughter is amazing. She's going to be really big one day. And I was like, yeah, oh, thank you. Just the usual stuff. And he goes, does she have her own website? Like kekepalmer.com? You better hurry up and get it, because if you don't get it, someone's going to snatch it up. And I didn't understand what he was talking about with snatch it up, because I'm like, Keke Palmer, no one has his name. What is he talking about? Snatch it up. And I really didn't understand what he was saying, but I was polite and I just kept it moving. Literally 2 years later, you were everywhere. People were talking about Akilah and the Bee. You were working, you were doing a Tyler Perry movie, and Alan called me and he said, hey, did you ever get the kekepalmer.com? And I said, Alan, I didn't even know what you were talking about. I'm so sorry. I said, I tried to get it, but it was taken. So now I understand what you mean when you said, get it before someone takes it. And he says, I know who owns it. And I said, who? He says, I do. I knew you didn't understand me, but you were such a nice lady that I went on and purchased it 2 years ago. And now I'm turning it over to you free of charge.
Wow.
Yes.
I never realized that Alan did that for us.
He did. He did. I mean, he was that much of a visionary, and everything he told me actually happened. So I was preparing for this to happen.
So I think it's safe to say that having an online presence, right, having a narrative in, a digital footprint for yourself is an important aspect of building a brand out of whatever you do. Would you agree?
Yes, without question. I think that people just feel comfortable one way or the other. They want to feel like they know who you are. But the one thing that I like about what you and I were able to build, by the grace of God, is we build a brand on authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are genuinely who you present yourself to be. And I think that one is the hardest to do, because most people create personas to protect themselves. They create, and they just go into a whole character because they don't want people to know who they are. They don't want to be vulnerable. And I just think that when people see you and they see you out and they see you, whether you're with the National Guard or when you're, with kids, you're consistently Keke Palmer.
Well, let's
And I
talk about
think
that,
that's
because I
good.
think that it's also a choice in branding, as you so well put,
Yeah.
what you want to represent and what you want to speak to. And I think it's all subjective, right? But very early on, you guys made it clear to me as a person, and that folded into my brand, to really be about community. When you would have me speak at schools or the Boys and Girls Club, or working with, later on, Saving Our Daughters. How, for you, what aspect of the brand, of what you were building, why was that important to you?
Well, having had been a teacher, I had been a high school teacher, and then we had always been very active in our community and our church. As you know, your father, would, cook and feed, go to the homeless shelter and all that kind of stuff. So community was embedded in us, from the time we were young people. My mother, had me in church, my sisters and I in church, and your dad, he was an altar boy. And so we grew up in a church community. So that was our foundation. And I just really felt like you needed community. You needed to be around other kids that were your age, but also what I guess would say normal kids. Kids that were going to school, going to public school, kids that were playing games, and just regular, in a regular environment, because most of the time your environment was Hollywood.
I love what you're saying, because it also just hits on, again, what comes naturally to you. What is in your world that you want to bring to the forefront? It's no different of if you're a person that has always grew up on fashion and your family were artistic in that way. And,
Absolutely.
If that is a part of who you are, folding that into your brand, that might mean going to Fashion Week. That might mean, collabing with a fashion designer, or supporting an up-and-coming fashion designer. And me, coming from the background I come from, of being community-driven and service-driven, it again is folding into who you are, what's important to you, and figuring out how to also be front-facing with that and representing that. And I really am grateful for it, because in my generation, I just love being able to have a connection to them.
Yeah.
In this real way.
Yeah.
Because there is so much that feels unreal, and I'm not saying I'm the realest person out there, but just knowing that through my career, I've been able to have real conversations and, also be silly and crazy, but like really what's going on, like the parasocialness of it all. I feel really grateful to be in a position to be able to have that kind of relationship with them.
I think I have a question for you. Can I ask you your question? Okay, great.
Please, of course.
After your time on True Jackson VP, how did you to continue to keep your brand going? How did you keep yourself at the top of people's minds in the industry? Because you go from True Jackson VP, that's over. Now what does a 18, 19-year-old Keke Palmer do?
Well, it's so funny because it's kind of twofold. It's like I did a little bit of the first two, which was fold into my digital footprint a little bit more, like go to my social media and realizing that was a way that I could outreach to my audience and see what they wanted from me. Continuing to speak to the things that were important to me through my digital, media. But then also, I think the third aspect of that I learned through content creation was investing and producing my own stuff. I think that is a big part of building your own brand that I don't know if everybody always thinks about. There's kind of this thing with entertainment where it's like you got to wait for somebody to choose you or pick you. And why aren't they choosing me or picking me? Especially when you are someone that feels like, okay, in society, maybe I am not the one they would push. It's even more on you to actually push yourself. When I was having a problem with traditional acting and we went to the hosting, that created a whole nother avenue for me. So when it came to roles, I didn't have to take a role I didn't really want to take because, you know what, I got my hosting to fall back on. For a few years where nobody was offering me a movie, I was on Good Morning America hosting the third hour with Michael Strahan and Sarah. And then when I started doing movies again and I wanted to go back into the schools and continue to talk, and, there's always somewhere else that I could go. And I always talk about that with hustle culture and brand building because I think there's a negative connotation.
Absolutely. Let's talk about, definitely. Let's talk about Good Morning America because I know when that job offer came, there was a lot of people who saying, what in the hell is she doing?
Yeah.
Why is she doing a talk show? What's going on here?
Yeah.
You and you and I know why you did it, and it worked out well. But tell me about how you felt about that. Like how some people thought that you were taking yourself out of being a serious actress by taking that job.
Well, I personally don't believe that there is no world where you can't be everything that you want to be. That's how I was raised. That's how y'all raised me. Like, you guys raised me with the concept of vaudeville, right? Everybody in vaudeville did everything. You think about Sammy Davis Jr., Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland, all those kinds of Josephine Baker. She was sexy and kooky. Like there is
Lola Falana.
You had to do everything. It was actually kind of crazy if you did only one thing. So that's number one for me is I come from like the old theater esque concept of entertaining where you should do it all. And then on the other side of that, again, I think I was, taught the business early on, whether it had been from my family or it had been from my attorney, Ken Hertz. He's been great for us and just different people I've learned and I've listened. And I thought to myself, well, the truth of the matter is I need more capital, right? I need more money to be able to invest in the ideas that I want. So number one, this is a good job. If we're putting it plainly, this is a good, consistent job that will allow me to get the income that I need to be able to spread out amongst all the other things that I want to do from a solely passionate place.
Absolutely.
I think there's another aspect to my brand, which is bringing nuance, right? I think especially for being a woman and then being a Black woman and all of whatever stereotypes come with that. It's like, I'm a nuanced person. And I feel like that is a conversation we have a lot within my generation. And so for me, when I think about my art or who I am as a person and what I want to bring to my public-facing work is like nuance. I could play pimp and I could be on Password. What I mean? I could be on Password and I could be, in the pickup with Eddie Murphy.
Absolutely.
I can be on the podcast and I can be talking to a professor at Harvard. Why can't you be I can have a long tattoo on the side of my body and pray in church.
And do a HelloFresh commercial.
So I think for me, that's also like a big part of what I like to do with art is say, hey guys, people are diverse, and that's so representative, again, like I said, of the millennial generation. And I think, with what we bring to the forefront, I think there's obviously still more things that the Gen Z is going to take over and continue to expound upon. But understanding that people are multi-hyphenate, that everybody is dynamic and allowing space for that.
Right.
Any more
Absolutely.
questions for me that you have before I let you go and get into the convo with Saweetie?
No, you know what? I just think that you're awesome and amazing, and keep on doing you, boo boo.
You crazy girl.
Baby, this is Keke.
I'm losing my mind over our guest today, okay? A 2-time Grammy nominee, the founder of a nonprofit, the queen of content and marketing, and all around just an amazing woman. No one, including me, can get enough of her. Of course, I'm talking to Saweetie. Welcome to the show, girl.
Oh, hey Keke, thank you, girl.
Okay, so I want to go back to the beginning because I met you like 2016, 2017. We had mutual friends. And this was around the time that, well, first of all, let me say this. I think you're amazing at your marketing, and I watched it build over time. So I want to go back to the beginning of where you were when you decided to actually start taking rap seriously.
I think when you met me, I was already taking rap seriously. I just didn't have the resources to, pursue it correctly. But for those who don't know, me and Kiki met lit at a party. I was in college. She was already the amazing Kiki Palmer. And
Oh.
she's just always been like a really dope girl who supported me. So shout out to you, Kiki.
Oh my gosh, I love you so much. Well, yeah, because I seen you. I remember we met, and then I went to your Instagram page, and I saw you was rapping in your car, and I was like, girl, what are you doing with this? Like, I loved your flow, your vibe. I loved your image, like, and just like, okay, this is a cute chick. She giving you some rhymes real quick. It's very effortless and laid back. And I know you just said you were trying to get your coins together, but what was the kind of first step of you making it a real career for you, aside from putting the content out?
Honestly, rapping in my car, I feel like social media and content has created a lucrative business. Back then we were all just immersing ourselves into like Instagram, Twitter, but because those videos went viral, I was actually able to, create a case for myself. Like, hey, I'm an artist. I'm
Yeah.
just starting out. I may not have the resources, but y'all gonna hear me. So I feel like even before social media was what it is today, I was already I was already utilizing it as my resource. So I think that was just like my stepping stone into the business.
Okay, now I know you said in an interview before you see yourself more as a brand than just a rapper. What does that mean? What does being a rapper to you mean? And then what is a brand to you?
I feel like as a rapper, as an artist, that's specifically music. And what I've built over these past couple of years, I think I became a multifaceted business beyond
Hmm.
artistry. And I think that's what makes me a brand. A brand is Icy Girl. A brand is the Snowflake. A brand is, I
Pretty
know
girl
that's
music.
yeah, Pretty Girl Music. A brand is all these things that have became centric for the Saweetie lifestyle. Um,
Yes, sweet lifestyle. I'm here for that. Yeah.
it's me, it's just a multifaceted image, and that's what I fortunately have become. So I'm really thankful for that, and I am very grateful for the fans who have stuck with me along the way.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your grandma real quick because I like something that I heard you said about her that she kind of told you to always have 7 different sources of income. Like she was an entrepreneur herself. So, how did your lessons from your grandmother kind of help you figure out how to manage this so you could support your career?
Well, when she told me that, I automatically was like, how am I gonna get this money? And when she told me that, I was like in middle school, so I started doing like bake sales, and I was like,
Come
so
on.
yeah, I've always been about that money. Okay. um, but then after that, another life lesson, I learned that yes, I want 7 streams of income, but what's going to be the platform for that? The platform was music. So I had to put all my time and my energy into music. And from there, I was able to tap into these other ventures that I was interested in, like content, like makeup, like
Hmm.
beauty, like fashion, like all these other things that I've always had an interest in, but you have to put your focus somewhere and then build
Yeah.
off that.
I think that is important. Also, a key piece you said is like, because people always say, what is it, jack of all trades, master of none. And I kind of resent that statement because it's this idea that you only can do one thing. But the truth in what it is you just said is you need a bouncing board to be able to be important and seen in another area. So if I got something off the ground real quick, even if it's just real quick, now I can leverage that. So I think that's a great point.
And
Um,
you all people should know that because you started in acting. You're great
Yep.
at music. You're now
Thank
starting
you.
this thing with the podcast that has grown out to be this beautiful thing. You now get into all these other things, and we've seen Keke from Aquila and the Bee.
Uh,
So I've always been a fan. So it's just nice to see another woman doing that as well.
Yeah, it definitely does feel good. And I think that's why I've always had such an affinity for you, even just from seeing the music, but then like realizing, no, this girl is for real. Cause you never know if people are for real. And I know a lot of people say, oh, they, first of all, I like when you explained it on one of these interviews where people were trying to make, asking you about pretty girl music. And you're like, no, pretty girl music is, if you feel pretty and you not a hater, that's what it is. And I love when you said that because it's like, don't push your stuff on me. This is what I'm actually saying. But I want to zero in on it because how do you feel? I feel I have my own stuff that people box me into when they try to make it seem like you're just supposed to be pretty. Like they don't want, you know what I mean? Don't do this, don't do that. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to do this. How do you manage dealing with that? Because you are beautiful, but it's like, that's not all I am.
Honestly, how do I manage that? I manage myself. And
Yeah.
my best way to respond to those type of people is through winning. It's through my music. It's through my brand deals. It's through persevering. And I love me a good quote. I read one yesterday, and it said, "The people who are not where you are will always say more than the people who have gone past you." So it's just like, yes,
Ooh.
me and you may get that those constructive criticism or those comments, but it's just like when you see the person who's giving it to you, where are y'all at in your life?
Now that's T-Boo.
For real. Because when I see the girls who are winning, those are the girls when they see me and they're out, they're like, keep going, like you got it. And then let's go to the other side of the spectrum for those who want to give like those critiques and those remarks. It's just kind of like they're at home and on their couches.
we if you on your couch, look, that it don't be mad, y'all. Don't be mad. No, I'm just playing.
Couch comments. We don't want those.
Now, when it comes to your music story, right? Like a big part of branding is your brand evolves every step, and also with our social media era, we also have to deal with people being in our personal life and how that affects branding. I've dealt with that myself, like just people thinking they don't know everything, and you got to just like, okay, I want you to focus on what I want you to focus on. Like this is
Right.
my career, this is my what I do, this is my craft. So when it comes to you, when you think about originally Icy Girl, what was the story you were telling then, and how has that story changed? Both musically and brand wise.
Well, Icy Girl, I feel like Icy Girl is like pretty girl music. When you think of Icy Girl, you think of like the blonde hair, the ice,
My boss wife.
the girl, exactly, the luxurious lifestyle. But for those who don't know, like I wrote Icy Girl when I was running rooms off of Craigslist, and all I had was a mattress. And for me, like in that moment, I was like, I'm still an icy girl. I'm a hustler and I'm gonna get to where I need to go because I'm really ambitious and I'm gonna reach my dreams. So I feel like a real icy girl is a go getter. So I feel like I am still that girl, but just at a different level in my life. And I think that's why my fans are able to like gravitate towards my music is because I feel like they all see themselves in me no matter where they are at in their life because I've been there before, you know?
I love that.
My purpose is yes, I love being fabulous, but my ultimate purpose is to inspire because I know what it feels like to be that girl who just wants to be heard, who just wants to make this next, this next payment of rent, who wants to
Hmm.
just, live out this dream that you have in your head that sometimes only you can see.
And that's why it's so important that you got to go for it on your own. Seriously, because it's true. Like everybody doesn't see or get what it is you're going for. When we're getting into your new music, like Birthday and just some of the other songs you drop, I'm a Barbie Girl, is it just about lifestyle? What is that? Or is it about, like you said, go getting? Kind of what is this new era of Sweetie that we're about to get into?
Like, I feel like I set the premise with this freestyle that I dropped last
Love
Monday.
that. I
Thank
reposted that.
you. Thank you. Oh, that's it.
Hmm.
But I feel like Immortal Freestyle, I feel like that's the premise of where I'm at in my career. I mean, I feel like you've even been here before, but it's just like Immortal to me is just getting up over and over again, no matter how many times you get knocked down. And I feel like men or women, if you're in the industry, you know that feeling really well because although we are blessed to like live out these 1%, 2%, 3% dreams, whatever that data might be for whoever's able to live in our positions, it's just like it's tough being in the industry. So
It is.
for me, it's just like, yeah, I took my little break. I was low key, but now I'm back because I'm a bad bitch and you can't kill me.
Yeah, and breaks are good because in those breaks you kind of like are quiet enough to hear and feel and experience life. Because as an artist, you do got to experience. As a creator, you have to experience so you know what you want to talk about. So that's important.
Absolutely.
So how much of your true self do you put into? I mean, obviously, I know your name is Sweetie. I know your name is also Diamante. Like your name is Sweetie Diamante.
No, so my MySpace name was Saweetie, and like I was
Oh,
really popping on MySpace. Like I had all the codes.
I know
Um,
that's right.
Girl, I was like, I didn't even realize it was coding, but I had a really dope MySpace. I would accept everybody as my friend, so I became like known as Saweetie in high school through
That's
my
fine.
MySpace. So people would meet me at a party or at a gas station or at the McDonald's and be like, "Hey, are you Saweetie from MySpace?" So that's how the name just organically stuck to me.
So how much of, because it sounds like you was even low key branded back then, having your page and having like a public facing
Oh,
persona.
absolutely. Like I had the photo bucket, I had MySpace, I
Wow.
had
Like a
Tumblr.
Tumblr girl.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so to me, branding has always been second nature, and I'm really grateful that branding has took off to what it is because for me, like that's just what I love to do as a little girl. I've always been a mood boarder.
You
Like
love to curate.
I love to curate, absolutely.
So how much of how much do we actually know Diamante? Like I know you're from the Bay, you know, obviously I do feel you from knowing you, but I actually know you. So in your work, how much do you decide to give us and pull back? Because that's also a push and pull in our industry. Like, do I want to like expose myself or you know what I mean? I want to be authentic, but I also want to keep enough for me at home. How do you balance that?
I feel like with each moment or with each song or with each interview that I do, I decide how much I decide to share. But I've always just been like a super private person. Like my parents were super private. They've always been like low key people. So I think that's where I get it from. So I like pick and choose what I share.
So how do you decide to share? Because I know for me growing up, my mom used to always be like, your career is your own. Don't share your career with anybody else. And it was always geared towards like relationships. So I always was very, ooh, do I be public? Do I not be public? Like, I don't know. Like, but I'm also happy. And I've had my own ups and downs with that whole public facing relationship thing. So how do you decide like, okay, you know what? I'll be seen with you, or you know what? I don't want to be seen with you no more. You know what I mean? Because once that person gets the chance to be like in your presence or a part of what you're doing, if they do something crazy or if shit go left, then you got to deal with what they done did.
Honestly, I'm at a moment where it's just like if I get caught, I get caught. And we can go from there.
Oops,
Oh,
whoops, there it is.
yeah, oops, man, girl. Up until
It's
then, it's
true.
like, shh.
I know exactly, but I will say that I feel like you've, like you did, like when you just did like shh, I feel like you've handled it so much so well because that's literally what it gets to a point where it's like I'm just quiet because I've, you know, I'm at my limit of what I think is deserved here and like make do with what you want and think what you're gonna think because I'm not about to try to control what you think.
Yeah.
How has it been for you navigating the business? Like what has kind of been, and I don't even want to say as a woman, but as a woman and just as an artist and a creator in general, what have you learned trying to navigate this business stuff?
I think it's been very difficult. For all the artists listening, you are only as strong as the people around you, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that I've learned that through trial and error. Um, but this industry, man, like I was raised differently, so
Yeah.
I was super green when I came in. I'm just thinking like if someone's nice and they cool, no, that's not always the case. Sometimes people have like ulterior motives, and I think the best thing that I've done for myself is always to just be thorough with each relationship that I have. Know the intention, know the reasoning of why you're dealing with certain people, but it's honestly been like a lot of trial and error. And if I was like just sharing what I would like to share on social media, because I'd be like, y'all don't know what I'd be like be happening like
Click,
behind the
click,
closed
clackety,
doors,
clack.
right? But I choose not to. But I think it's just a lot of trial and error, and I think that I wish that as artists, as and actors and actors, they're artists too in their own right. I just wish that people actually like took our careers more serious and
Yeah.
um, protected us more. Because I
Mm,
feel like there's
mm.
a lack of protection when it comes to artists. It's like we're these like exotic animals that everyone loves, and then once they get us, it's like let's try to tame them, let's try to make them this. No, you wanted us because of who we were, and they take us, they try to control us, they want to manipulate, they want to do things for themselves, and it's just not fair because like all we want to do is create art, but it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that we have to like to be very aware because we never know who's around us.
I think it's really important what you just said because it can totally feel like that, and then you don't really have the space because people assume that you're rich, and even if you are rich, it's like at that point you don't have a right to feelings. Which everybody, I really do want to be clear that everybody in the industry don't have money like that, and even if they do got a little bit, they got a business that they have to like afford to keep up, and I mean, it's just like the overhead.
Even what Taraji said, like with all like the markdowns, and it's just like the people who be close to us and the people who feel like they may know us, they just be thinking, oh, you're rich, you're okay. No, I have teams that I have to take care of. So I really love that interview that she did because it truly broke down all the knockdowns that we have and what we truly take home, you know.
And hopefully humanize the reality that we are all dealing with corporate struggle in every industry. Like our issues may not be the same, but corporations are going to corporate, whether they are in the Hollywood world or they're in the, factory world. Like every industry across the board in America is dealing with being underpaid, undercut, and having to maintain something. And so, I also love the aspect of what you said of that is like, we just want to create. So there's that aspect where it's like, oh my gosh, I love my fans, this parasocial relationship. I appreciate this. I love this. But because it's parasocial, you really don't know me. So I had to learn how to not take it personal, even though sometimes, it will hurt your feeling. I've been doing it for 20 years. And I remember the first time I got dragged on Twitter, you know what I'm saying? Or when I got dragged on Instagram, you know what I mean? Like you just be like, why is y'all dragging me like this? Y'all done hooked me up to the back of this truck and y'all are going 100 miles per hour. Damn. But then you just sit back and say, you know what? They love my work. They don't know me, and I guess the motherfuckers hated that last project.
You know what has helped me like in those dealings? I'm like, okay, you're dragging the persona of me. It's not me, because if you know me, you wouldn't be dragging me. So it's just like how I've dealt with that. It's just kind of like, okay, Saweetie, you have a public image. The public image of you is being dragged right now, but don't take it personal because you're still like Diamante and all these other like, I have other existences. So how I've dealt with that with any time things may not go how I want to, especially with the internet, I'd be like, oh damn. Like, cause when it's not you, you just be like, damn. So, but when it's you be like,
Hold up. Let up off me real quick. Let up off me real quick.
you on the back of that truck hitting all the speed bumps.
It's bad, man. It is.
No,
but
it's bad, especially in trolling culture, because sometimes people will just join because they enjoy trolling. So just I hope that as public figures we're able to detach from that public image, because if you don't, it can really take a toll on your mental health.
It really can. Well, let's get into the fact that people use constant gifts of you. There's a lot of love out there. Everybody gets the criticism, but you also get a lot of love. Like, you're everybody's homegirl. Like you said, you're inspiring on an aesthetic level. Like, people are like, well, let me get into the look. Let me get into what Miss Saweetie done did. It's giving curated. It's giving mood board. You know what I mean? So how does that feel when the love comes in? Obviously, I know it's like you don't want it to take you up too high, but it must feel good to see that people are responding to what you put so much work into creating.
I feel like as long as I can inspire and as long as I can give you something and we're able to create like a positive moment, like I love that for me or for anybody else. For me, like my creativity is my therapy. So anytime someone else feels good about it, it always touches my heart because it's coming from, like the inner child of myself.
I love that. What is your unique approach to branding and marketing? Because I've even been in the studio with you and you've looked like Saweetie. Does that make sense? Like, there's not anywhere where I've seen you and you didn't look like the role of being Saweetie. So how is it like you sit down and you're like, okay, I love a little bit of this and I love a little bit of that, or I want to be like, what is the makeup that you have created as to what your brand that you follow?
I honestly do what makes me happy. And anytime I try to be too strategic with something, that's when I feel like it's not me. because I feel like when you're authentically you, it's second nature. And when it's something that's not necessarily that, is not, may not be your most authentic self, that's when more thinking goes into it.
Is there something that comes into your mind where it's like, oh, you know what, that was this when I did this project, that really wasn't me, or I would have did that differently now, like something from in hindsight?
Yes, there was a record that came out. It was called the You So record. It was with Kid Ink and Lil Wayne. And I
Okay.
remember when the song came to me, it was super like it was more freaky than usual.
Right.
And I wanted to like, but for me, I always love a challenge. So I was like, okay, how do I do like a dope spin on this to where it's like I'm still me, but I'm able to tap into this world. Girl, I struggled so hard in that studio. Like at first, it took me like a really long time to say pussy on records. Like it just was
Right.
like,
I mean, well, that's a big thing with your brand, where it's like, do I want to be, even if you say it in your own life, it's like, do I want to say that in the front of the world? How is that going to? So I get it.
no, but it took me a really long time to like say pussy on music. And
Even right now, I'm spooked.
yeah, no, but like for me, it was like it took a long time. Now I'm used to it, but I remember just being in the studio and it's just that studio pressure when people who aren't in the room that really know you, it's just like, man, just say the word. Like, and I'm just like, it's making me cringe. But just at least
Yes.
for me, because I grew up how I grew
I
up.
feel the same way.
Right, because how I grew up, I was a super tomboy. But as an artist, having that level of success so young, and when you're the only person in the room who can only stand up for yourself, and everybody's just like,
Yes.
just say this or that, and I'm just like,
Yeah. But you have to go through those scenarios. You know what I mean? It's important because then it gives you the strength to know how to act the next time. So
now
do
I'm
you still use pussy? Do you fuck with it now? Or like what has it changed? Have you been like, nah, 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 I ain't gonna do that?
honestly, I say it with intention, but if it's not needed, it's not a word that I'm just gonna throw in there.
Period.
I've been recording a lot lately, and when I'm in the room, I try to stay away from it unless it really like, you know,
It feels right.
unless it feels right. If it's empowering, oh, like my song, Pussy.
Yeah.
Like I love that record because I feel like it was me and I was empowering women to let them know that they have the power because the punani is power. So that's when I love to use the word. But if it's just no intention, I'm just throwing it away and it's just casual. I'm like, no, because I feel like pussy is such a sacred word.
Yes, I agree with you. It's like if I don't want to just use it in a way where it feels exploitative to me, but if it feels necessary, then yeah, I'ma say it.
Baby, this is Keke Palmer, yeah.
What is the kind of standard for not only music you want to do, but people you want to collaborate with? Like, is there a rule of thumb that you have?
Honestly, is do I love it? And like I said,
Mm,
when it's second nature to you, you don't have to think. If it's too much thinking going into it, that means, oh girl, I follow this page. It's vintage icons, and there was this wonderful woman. I forgot what her name is, and she talks about the difference between the heart and the mind. She goes, the heart always knows. It's the mind that talks us out of situation, or it's the mind that kind of like tells the heart, okay, you may not like it, but let me start thinking about it. Let me persuade you out of what your initial thought is. So I try to listen to my heart as much as possible now, because my mind, especially in this industry, I'm second guessing myself. I'm like, well, it's not that bad. No, girl. If it was a no from the get go, it's a no now. So I try to listen to my heart as much as possible now.
yeah, I love what you said with that because I think it becomes quite difficult to, again, people are trying to build brands, trying to figure out how to be able to get big collaborations. They want to do what's right. They want to put themselves in the best position. But if you really are authentic in terms of how you feel, what's comfortable for you, what's true to your heart, then it will actually lead you to the better opportunities for you.
Absolutely.
Are you critical of yourself? I know that's a silly question because I'm sure you are. You're an artist, but what are the kinds of things that you have to fight against in your mind when it comes to being critical of yourself?
Well, I'm a Cancer.
Ooh,
Um,
girl. What's your rising and what's your moon?
I'll tell you offline.
She don't want you in her business, y'all.
Astrologists, and once they find out the big three, they be trying to feel like they know you and all that. um, I honestly, have been, I think since last summer, I've been proactively reprogramming my mind because I think so negatively about myself. And I think that I only started to do that once I became a public figure, because there was a time where I got dragged online so much, and that's all I was reading. And when you learn about the subconscious mind, like what you allow to enter into your mind gets programmed. So honestly, I'm doing a lot of deprogramming right now.
That's me too. I've been through some traumatizing stuff publicly and privately, so I can. I mean, I feel like everybody in the world has to some degree, but maybe not on the public scale that an entertainer could experience. But what I will say is what I've learned for my own self is like traumatic stuff is a part of life, and it's actually like I don't want to say it's necessary, but like on a soul level, we chose our experience to a certain degree. And the questions that I've pushed myself to ask myself is, instead of saying, why did this happen to me? I say, why did this happen for me? What am I supposed to learn? Because if I wanted to go through this on a spiritual soul level, if I wanted my Sims character to experience X, Y, and Z, what am I supposed to take from it? Because if I don't take nothing from it, then I'm not doing my job. It's not I didn't do my job because I went through it. It's I didn't learn something from it. And if I don't, then that means I'm not doing my job. So
And there's a act. I honestly, I love following like my little random pages that be having the quotes and like the little
yes, me too. The
little
memes and stuff.
But there's a I think it was the butler of Batman. Can you know his name? I feel so bad because he's so iconic. So
Alfred, you talking about Alfred?
Alfred, yeah. He was doing an interview, and I forgot the analogy that he used, but he basically gave this dope story. I forgot what it was, but he was like, use problems, use traumatic experiences. Like, what is the opportunity in that? What's the positivity? So for me, I'd be excited now. I'd be like, okay, this feels bad, but how do I make it a positive moment? So for me, it's like I now look at challenges as obstacles. I get excited for them because I know I'm going to turn it into something better.
Yes, I feel you.
It's reprogramming, you
It's
know?
that reprogramming because honestly, it's a narrative. If I have to have an if I have my inner monologue, I'm gonna let my inner monologue be on that Jordan Sparks. And for step at a time, it's no need to rush. You know what I mean? Like I want my shit to be positive no matter what I'm going through. Okay, well, give me a day in the life of Sweetie because I feel like your life is quite fabulous. You probably
Okay.
gonna try to downplay it, but like, what is a day in the life of Sweetie? Do she wake up? Are you turning your music on? Are you going to the studio? Or are you laying back?
I love loud music. I love loud music and coffee in the morning. I love that. That's like my go-to.
Come on,
Get
stimulant.
started. I love Afro beats, or I love like 90s reggaeton. Like those are
I
my
love the
two.
accent that went with it.
Uh,
Reggaeton.
yeah, so those are my two starters. It's we go into the islands in the morning and we drink some water.
Yes.
I love to work out. Ooh, girl, have you tried Pilates?
Girl, I love Pilates, but I like it mostly with the machines. I don't like when we're on the ground.
Oh yeah, I tried machine Pilates. Ooh, girl,
It's
like
very severe.
my stomach looked good the next day. I said, I'm coming here every day. So for try Pilates, we getting ready for the summer body for everybody who's listening. Um, what else? Meetings. I prefer studio time during the day because I minimum I'm in the studio 6 to 8 hours. So
Woo!
I don't like going at night because I'm gonna be there until like the morning time. Um,
Literally.
I love Pinterest.
Oh my gosh, I live for it. You really are a mood board girl.
Yeah,
That gives.
I love Pinterest. I like I like binge watching shows. Like
What show you watching right now?
I just binge watched Griselda and Black Cake.
Ooh, I gotta watch those. So wait, Griselda I've heard of, but what's Black Cake?
It's basically about how the mother, she was an immigrant and she came to the States, and before she passes away, and she basically uncovers her whole life through this recording for her kids, and it made me like it humanized my mother, and
Mmm.
I hope that in the most respectful way. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when I look at my mom, I don't want to generalize and say how everybody looks at their mom. I only see her as like mom, not
Yeah.
realizing that she went through all these things to become the woman she is today. And
Yeah.
I feel like, especially with immigrant parents, they hide a lot of things. They hide a lot of their trauma, and
Yes.
but through those experiences, when they share it, it helps, us as kids like learn about them as humans, and it takes away that title. So I really appreciated Black Cake. It really made me look at my mom in a different way.
That's very, very amazing. I got to check that out.
No, you definitely do. And my mom, like, she a tiger mom,
Yeah.
and lot of tough love. But I realized that she was loving me. She was teaching me through her teaching style because of her trauma,
Yeah.
and it just made me just have a lot of empathy towards my mom.
It's so true, man, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then even like through talking to my mom about different like love styles, there's like anxious attachment,
I love
avoidant
that thing
attachment,
too.
and there's healthy attachment. And I had to learn about myself.
Me too.
I ain't gonna tell you what I know.
I'll tell you what I am after this.
Okay, I'll tell you too.
Mine is like, I feel like I'm just gonna say it here. Y'all can edit mine out, but she could still respond to it right now. But mine's is fearful avoidant. Could you
Okay.
believe? It's
you're
like I
avo-
want to be close, but I don't really want to be close. But I want to be close, but like back up for real. I love those little quizzes, girl. I be doing them quizzes down. Like, tell me about myself,
Me
please.
too. Me too. The older I get, the more I just want to learn about myself so that I have better relationships with those around me.
I guess the last question of the question half of this conversation I would ask is, what do you want your legacy to be? I know it's loaded because, you're so young, but what is kind of like, what you would want people to take away from, Saweetie?
Honestly, consistency.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that consistency is what builds legacy. So honestly, I'm not sure what my legacy will be until the legacy is imprinted into like history. But my word of the year, and I tell everybody this around me, like, yes, I want to win, and yes, I want to achieve this and that, but I honestly just want to be consistent.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I define legacy and like longevity based off consistency as
Absolutely.
well. So you're amazing. I love how you're taking the world by storm. And I know you always gonna have so much, so much, so much, so much to show us. On the show, we like to play games, and we always end our convos with a little game. So the game is called But the Gag Is. And I'll share a take, and then you just share your honest opinion for it. You ready?
Hmm.
Okay. Sampling other songs means maybe you're not original artist, but the gag is
You are.
period. Period. Period.
Because hip hop was based off of sampling. And yeah, girl, I'm a sample for the rest of my career. For the rest of
And
my
I also think it's like, again, it's telling a story. Like when we were talking about the Icy Girl, Icy World. Like it's dope when you can put a flip on something that you feel, but you make it your own. And that's the original aspect of it. It's like, yo, we feel this vibe, but I'm going to take it to another. I'm taking it to rap. I'm going to take it my way. Okay. If you already know who you want to be as an artist, college is a waste of time. But the gag is,
Honestly, it's not, because I feel like college, it made me a confident person. Like,
yeah.
I can go in any room and just be comfortable, because USC is just like, girl, to be in those kind of rooms and sometimes being the only Black girl, you just like, oh no, I'm gonna make this work. And also, like, if your homegirl or your homeboy wants to be a rapper, like, for the friends around you, because like, I don't know about you, I like to work with people who like
Oh, me
who
too.
like who I could vibe with, because I'm with them all
Yes.
the time. If your homegirl wants to be a rapper, learn how to lay a wig, learn how to do some makeup, because she's gonna
Yes.
need those kind of people around you. And I'm pretty sure you know this. You want to hire people who you love. Like, I want to put
Yes.
that money into someone's pocket who I know, who I actually know. So for those people who are listening, if your homeboy or homegirl is trying to be something, figure out a job that can like service that, so that you guys can always like stick together.
You on that LeBron James. I'm on the LeBron James too. Me and all my friends is coming up, period. Okay? Pretty privilege is real, but the gag is,
It's really not. I feel
ooh,
like, because like the pretty privilege thing got kind of reversed, I'd be feeling like people be like, I'm gonna be mean to her because everybody's probably nice to her, or I'm gonna treat her like this, or she can feel like this. And I just honestly, because my emotional intelligence is so up, I'd be like, okay, you got it.
Yeah, I do think that people try to do this whole humble you thing. Like,
Yeah,
not you particularly, but just like anybody. Like,
thank
if
you
they
for
feel
telling
like somebody think they cute, like, oh, you think you cute, like, let me humble you real quick. And it's like, don't be a hater in disguise. It's so apparent what you're doing right now. Female rappers are forced to compete against each other, but the gag is
Healthy competition is great. You know, iron sharpens iron. It's the all the extras that come with it. You know, I love that there's other talented women out there because when I see them, I'm like, I gotta do better. And I feel like it's always good when it's healthy.
girl, you ate that down.
And honestly, for all like new artists, female artists, male artists, always fact check. Cause there's been plenty of times where like I've heard that someone didn't like me when I see them. I ask them, do we have a problem? In the most respectful way. And 10 times out of 10, it's like, no, I thought you had a problem. Oh, girl, we good. Like, I feel like the internet and other people create the beef. It's not
Yeah.
really the female rappers or the artists. So it's just like, we all just got to ask them questions because honestly, sometimes there's nothing even there.
But if somebody meets you, there's no way that they wouldn't like you, even if they didn't like you before, because you are literally like a personality that's a character on the episode of The Parkers. Like, you literally are a Parkers episode character. Like, I love her. Like, you just like a sitcom person. Like, it just gives life. Okay, last one. Social media is crucial to success and fame nowadays. But the gag is?
It is.
Yeah, that is, I agree. It's definitely crucial to being able to sustain your business.
I feel like with Generation Z and the upcoming generations, they're so online. And if those are your consumers, we have to adapt. Um, and unless you're a 2 or 3 decade company who already have those built in fan bases and consumers, um, you have to create and serve the people who are upcoming. And those are the younger generation. And the younger generation really enjoys the internet and social media. So, um, I think that it's always important to adapt to the business climate.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's why you are my business girly. And I'm so happy to have had you on the show, hearing you talk, and also having a conversation, I think, around just so many of the things that I want people to know about you as somebody that personally knows you and has watched your evolution on a personal level. Like, I just, I'm excited for people to hear this conversation and really get into the mind of you.
Oh, thank you, Kiki. And girl, you know, I'm a fan since day one. You've always just been you. You on screen, off screen. Kiki is always a good time. Shout
Girl,
out
we got to get up in the studio again. How we was having fun. I fell asleep on the
no.
couch.
Oh my
Y'all
gosh.
y'all was giving me too much drinks. Y'all was giving me too much drinks. But I was remember I woke up. I was like, good night, good night.
We have fun in the studio.
So much fun. Thank you again. Thank you to your team, and I know I'll see you around.
Yeah, I'm gonna see you soon, girl. Thank you, guys.
Okay, I'm honestly leaving this conversation feeling inspired and impressed. I feel like I can relate a lot to what Saweetie said. You know, it's one thing to succeed in your art, but it's a whole other ball game to become bigger than your craft and really become a brand in itself. One thing I know for sure is it's not something that just happens on its own. It's something that you got to put work into. All right, listeners, this was another good one, and I know there will be yet another good one next week. Until then, you know it's your girl.
Baby, this is Keke.